Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, August 20th, 2017. Looking at fire potential impacts over the next few days, there is a potential for some isolated mixed wet and dry thunderstorms across northeastern Nevada this afternoon. Today, across the remainder of the Great Basin, we could see some showers and thunderstorms as well, but those will mostly be wet. As we move into Tuesday, a larger area will see coverage for those showers and thunderstorms, but again, the majority of those storms will be wet. However, winds can be gusty and erratic in the vicinity of any storms that do develop. As we move into the middle of next week, we will start to see lightning spreading into northern Idaho and western Wyoming. Looking at precipitation and lightning over the past 24 hours, not too much precipitation fell across the Great Basin. You can see some light amounts across central Nevada and central and southwestern Utah. And some lightning also was observed across portions of central and southern Utah and far eastern Nevada. Initial attack activity was light yesterday with 15 new fires. There are 79 ongoing fires across the Great Basin. Looking at precipitation over the past 14 days, you can see that the majority of the precipitation has fallen across the southern and eastern portions of the Great Basin. The image on the right shows how this observed precipitation compares to normal. You can see that much of the lower elevation areas of the Great Basin are below normal, and it's really only the higher elevation portions of the Great Basin that have seen near normal precipitation over the past 2 weeks. With this drier weather, ERCs are on the rise across the Great Basin. You can see that most of the stations have an arrow pointing upwards, and that indicates that ERCs are trending upwards over the past 3 days. ERCs are the highest across the northern portions of the Great Basin, where weather has been the hottest and driest. Looking at GB1 in a little more detail, you can see the ERCs fell pretty sharply with some cooler weather that came in, but they have recovered quite quickly over the past 2 weeks. And a similar story emerges across northeastern Nevada, where ERCs have been recovering quite rapidly over the past few weeks, but still are below normal for the time of year. Looking at live fuel moisture, most areas in the Great Basin are at or above normal for live fuel moisture, and have trended upwards or flattened out over the past few weeks. Looking at the satellite image this morning, you can see some clouds across the Four Corners region. That's an area of moisture that will push into southeastern Utah today, bringing showers and thunderstorms to the area. Now, looking at the weather pattern for this afternoon, you can see that moisture in place across the southeastern part of the Great Basin. That will result in this afternoon's showers and thunderstorms. As far as significant fire potential for the area, we're looking at mostly little to low risk across the Great Basin, with the exception of the central Idaho mountains and southeastern Idaho, where fuels are a little bit drier. Looking at the weather in a little more detail, you can see winds for the most part will be light across the Great Basin. There is a potential for some gusty winds across southeastern Idaho, but winds will generally remain below 25 miles an hour in those areas. As far as the weather, again, as I mentioned earlier, we are expecting showers and thunderstorms across portions of the Great Basin, mainly the higher terrain of southeastern Utah and the Arizona Strip, and some isolated storms are also possible across central Nevada as well. As we move into Monday, moisture continues to increase across the southern part of the area. Winds will be quite light across the area on Monday, but we will see showers and thunderstorms across the south with that increasing moisture. Most of these storms will be wet as the moisture is quite deep. As we move into Tuesday, that moisture begins to push its way northward. And with that northward surge in moisture, we will see a corresponding increase to the north with those showers and thunderstorms. You can see by Tuesday, pretty much the entire state of Nevada is expected to see those thunderstorms, as well as much of Utah and the Arizona Strip. These storms will be mainly wet, although gusty winds are expected in the vicinity of these storms. Winds will be quite light on Tuesday, as you can see from the map on the left. So over the next 3 days, the majority of the precipitation will fall across the central and southern portions of the Great Basin. As we move into Wednesday, that's when things start to get pretty interesting. That moisture will continue its northward surge on Wednesday. And as we see that moisture moving into those central Idaho mountains where conditions are a bit drier, there is a potential for some dry lightning. And so there is concern that the dry lightning could have some significant fire impacts on Wednesday. So we have issued a high risk for lightning across the central Idaho mountains and southeastern Idaho on Wednesday. As we move into Thursday, that moisture continues to move off to the north and east. We start to see some drier air moving into the southwestern portion of the Great Basin. Thursday, significant fire potential will be pretty low across the entire Great Basin, as we'll have seen quite a few days of showers and thunderstorms across the area. Moving into Friday, we start to see high pressure increasing across the Great Basin, so we'll start to see some drier conditions, warmer and drier conditions, beginning from the western portion of the Great Basin. And as we move into Saturday, that warming and drying trend continues in earnest. You can see the dry air begins to make its way across the entire Great Basin on Saturday. Over the next 7 days, it looks like there is a potential for some precipitation across the northern portions of the Great Basin, and that is expected to occur towards the end of that 7-day period. In the 8 to 14 day range, the Climate Prediction Center is calling for above normal temperatures across the entire Great Basin. That takes us into the beginning of September, where there's a potential to see above normal temperatures. And as far as precipitation, the forecast is for normal precipitation across the southern 2/3 of the Great Basin, with below normal precipitation across the northern part of the area. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thanks.